What it is, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram land, what's happening? So look, I'm going to jump right into this. So I've had a couple guys, I'm working on this '07 Lincoln Navigator with a 5.4. Typical exhaust manifold leak. So I posted some pictures and stuff the other night. And I had a couple guys ask me what some of my tricks are because they said they tried some of these tricks and didn't have any luck. So I figured I'd give a couple little pointers on what I do to get these out. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'll do is obviously get in the shop, wheel off, inner fender well out. Then I take the torch and I cut all the heads off of the studs that hold the manifold to the head. I want to get the manifold off the truck as fast and as easy as possible. And I don't want to damage the studs that are sticking out any more than they already probably are. Because more than likely behind the nut and in between the head and the nut, there's a little bit of room there. More than likely it's already probably rotted and not much left anyway. So putting a nut or putting a socket on the nut and trying to twist it off is only going to break it. So let's just cut them off, get the manifold off, get it out of the way. I'll take a biscuit tool, I'll clean the head up, take a wire wheel and a cordless drill, and clean up around the studs, and try to clean the studs up the best you can. Now, the next thing I do, and this is kind of key to my success for getting these out. That nut right there is a jam nut. It's not a regular nut. If you notice, it might be hard to see in the picture, but this is just a regular steel nut. No coating or nothing on it. Like, for example, this nut here is, see, you can see the thickness difference. Put them side by side. This is a grade 8 nut. You see it's got the fancy gold color to it. And some of them have the shiny silver. I don't use those. The reason I don't is the coating that's on these nuts, when you go to weld them, they always break right off. Now, if you grind that coating off, they'll weld better. But the coating hurts you when you're welding it. And the thickness has a lot to do with it too. So the second thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll weld it. So there's one. Here's one I got out. Now, mind you, I got all 8 of these out with no problem. I weld the nut on. And the reason I use the thin nut is the thin nut, a lot of times, like I said, these are already broke off or already rotted close to the head as it is. Thin nut will allow you to get it on there and weld it. You know, you can let's just say where my end of my finger is, that's all that you got sticking out of the head. I can put that nut on there and I can weld it up and it'll look like that. Now, this is the next part that's key. Do not go in there and yank on it right away when it's hot. Let it cool. Once as it's cooling, sometimes as it's cooling, I'll do this too, is obviously the motor's still in the truck. So I'll go in there with a long punch and I'll smack on the top of where I just welded it. Smack on it with a hammer and this long punch. Shock it. You want to shock the bolt. That's what you're actually doing. And I'll use a wrench. I won't use a ratchet. I won't go in there with an air gun or nothing. I use a wrench. And the reason I use a wrench is because you can rock it back and forth. Now, if you've been in this business long enough, and you've been doing this as long as I have, you can tell when you put a wrench on there if you're going to break a bolt or not. You don't want to go in there and be like an animal and just yank it on. You're going to break it off, guarantee you. Go in there with a wrench and just kind of work it a little bit. Most of the time, it'll crack loose, and once she cracks loose, she's rolling. Shocking it and letting it cool are 2 of the big key things to getting these things out. Now, that trick that I just told you about shocking it, letting it cool, works real good. 5.4, 4.6, even the V10 motor works real good on that stuff. I've almost always get them out. You could try that trick on a Hemi or 4.6 Dodge or any of the LS motors, 5.3, 6.0, whatever. They usually don't work. You got a 50-50 shot on those. GM is probably the worst one, and I'm not just saying it because everybody knows I'm not a great big late model GM fan. But whatever they use, whatever material those bolts are made out of, they always just lock right in the head for some odd reason. Again, you don't want to heat it up. Now, I did have one on this truck that I had to fight. Of course, it was the one all the way in the front under the strut tower. I just would not come loose. I hit on it, heated it. It took me about 20 minutes. I did go back with a torch, and I got it cherry red, and I let it cool, and I shocked it one time while it was real hot, and I let it sit there. I let it cool to where I could actually touch it, and then I put the wrench on it, and after that, it came right out. So sometimes you may want to go back and put a little heat on it, but do not take these out when they're hot. You got aluminum cylinder head, you got a steel bolt. You will gall the threads almost all the time if you do it that way. So maybe this will help you guys, you know, help. I don't know. But like I said, this is what works for me. I'm sure there's a million other tricks out there. Maybe this will help you. I don't know. Who goes? I wish you luck on the next broken bolt job because I don't wish this job on my worst enemy. They're not fun. Keep it reals. Holler at your boy because I'm out.